If a tree falls in the forest and nobody is there to hear it, did it make a sound? Did it exist? Well, same can be true for content marketing. This book, Content Inc., goes over how you can make sure that your tree falls and is always being heard. All right, welcome back everybody to Biz Gorilla. I'm your host, Jason Catalano. On this channel, we are your business book club so that you can build your brand at no to low cost. Today's book is Content Inc. by Joe Pulizzi, and this book is golden for anyone who wants to be a content creator, someone who wants to be a blogger, a podcaster, someone who wants to get on YouTube, anything having to do with creating content. This book right here is the one that I would definitely read. It's going to give you a great framework, great modeling system in order to create content consistently. Okay, so once again, who's this for? This is for those content creators who are looking to start up. Next, I would say, what is it all about? This book is all about being a framework for how to create content. You know, how can you create content that people are going to discover, that people are going to like? It's going to be a part of their lives. How can you create better and the best content for people? Not just be another one of these kind of, another blogger who has 1,000 subscribers and never goes anywhere, or a YouTuber that has 500 subscribers and has great content, can't get discovered, or for some reason, they don't understand the back-end SEO. This is what this book goes all about. So where do we see this? I would say Gary Vaynerchuk is kind of one of the bigger players that I know that really hammers hard on content marketing. Seth Godin talks about it a lot in his book, saying that content marketing is the only marketing available now. It's the only one that works. So we're trying to see a lot more and more and more, and it makes sense, right? Content marketing is how you can grow and engage with, your following, your audience. You can engage with people versus the traditional methods, which is run an ad, push out a message, and then give them a call to action, go buy whatever it is you're selling. Content marketing has a lot more to do with give, as Gary Vaynerchuk says, and then finally give the hook. Okay, so the big idea in this book, I'm just gonna read it. It's out of the introduction. It's the best way to start a business today is not by launching a product, but by creating a system to attract and build an audience. And this is where I think Joe Pulizzi absolutely hits it correctly, and that is that today I think that products are fairly common. I think everyone's trying to sell you a product, but I think in the long run, the brands that deliver more than just the product itself, that really engage with you, that really help you in your life out more, those are the companies that once they do sell a product, you are a lot higher likelihood to not only buy from them, but then tell your friends about it and then buy more from them. Okay, so there's 3 parts to this book that I really liked in terms of how to think about your content, and it was, at first you gotta begin, then you gotta build it, and then you gotta make it better, okay? Okay, so with begin, point number 1, this part I really liked how he just says, first you gotta start. And he kind of actually goes into 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. You can go ahead and watch it on the channel. And in that, he says you have to just basically accept that you are in charge of your own life and that you can create a channel that's going to be great, but it's up to you. There's nothing holding you back, and that you always have to begin with the end in mind. And I think that's such a great phrase, because he's just saying that when you begin the channel, if you don't really have a certain destination you want to get to, you're basically just going to be throwing out videos left and right. There's no real central topic. There's no real reason for someone to come to your channel or even stick around. And so you're gonna be kind of lost in the woods or lost in the desert for too long. So he definitely says, begin with the end in mind. It doesn't have to be the most specific thing in the world, but I like how Joe just says, you gotta have at least some sort of end destination that you're gonna be going towards. And obviously the way you get there is gonna be different, but I really like how he says, begin with that final destination. The next part he talks about is the sweet spot in terms of beginning, and he says the sweet spot is the combination of your knowledge and skills, right? What do you know and what can you do? That plus what he talks about is your passion, that overlap between it right in there. That's where he says your sweet spot's gonna be. And he goes over a lot of different examples of it, but honestly, one of the first ones that comes to mind is Rosanna Pansino. her channel really took like baking. She was really good at baking, and she took the idea of she was passionate about nerd stuff, right? And so she kind of put those two together to create kind of the next thing, which is your content tilt, and that really made her special, right? So he talks about the content tilt is the thing that's going to make you special and unique, and that doesn't have to be anything crazy, but kind of like with Rosanna Pansino, it's not necessarily that it has to be unique or crazy, but just the fact that she would bake things like these nerd topics like Bowser or Super Mario or Captain America cakes. That's something that was never really out there at the time. And I thought that was a good point that he said that brought a very unique perspective to baking. So she definitely carved out her own sweet spot, her own niche. Okay. Also with the tilt, what I like what Joe talks about is the idea from Jim Collins, built to last, good to great. He basically says you have to be a hedgehog. Like, what is the one thing that you do better than everyone else? And I love how Joe continually hits on this in the book, how you have to be the best at something, right? Especially in the digital age, we can find the best bread maker, we can find the best cake maker, we can find the best pizza maker, we can find the best pasta maker. So you have to figure out where you're going to be the best, because if you're not, you have to then rely on personality and style. And especially when you're first starting off on YouTube or blogging or things like that, that's gonna take a long time. It's a lot easier if you can kind of be in that category of one and be a hedgehog and understand like, okay, I can dominate this one tiny little slice. That's where you wanna hit. And he also talks about aspirations over needs, being in terms of creating your content. For this channel, for instance, I like to think the aspiration is being a better business professional, ultimately putting more money in your pocket, right? And reaching more people and making a bigger difference. This channel, these business books, that's really what it helps. A good example of this is I just walked into the bookstore a few days ago, and I walked into like 3 bookstores, and there's only like one little section for business books, right? And I just continually think about it. I'm like, it's probably the biggest subject in terms of happiness for people is financial freedom. And there's only this little sliver in the bookstore that's gonna cover it. And yet you look at fiction, which is all fantasy and escapism. This is littered, the entire back wall, every single one was littered with these things that, quite frankly, are just distractions. And it's incredible that even bookstores, I think, are still around, because what do they sell in terms of aspiration? Like the need to have a book right away? Amazon can get you the book in 2 days at a cheaper cost with user reviews. Come on. So bookstores are gonna go away because I don't think they really do this aspiration of being, you come here, we're gonna tell you all about certain books, we're gonna give you insider knowledge on it, and you're gonna be better well-read. They don't do that. They don't really sell you on the aspiration. They try and sell you on the need. That's just not gonna work anymore, right? Especially when you do content. I sell people on this channel on the aspirations of being better at business, and especially with guerrilla marketing and the tactics to get and build your brand at lower or no cost. That's more aspirational, right? Obviously the lower or no cost, that's gonna be a need, but in terms of the aspirational of being better at business, being someone that's well respected, right, within your family, within your friends, because you actually are making money on your own, that's of course something that is a much more aspirational, right? That's something that we all aspire to be. Okay, so the next section is to build, and he's just talking about how once you kind of figure out, your starting point, you have to figure out how you're now going to build from that. And there's actually 6 points he talks about in terms of filling a need, being consistent. Talks about humanizing, talking about having a point of view, avoiding sales speak, and the best of breed. So obviously we've already talked about being best of breed. And sales speak, he's just saying that when you're building your channel, your content, you want to be as human and as real and as authentic as possible. You don't want to necessarily just continually, I always say, be like Gavin Newsom. We're always just talking like a salesperson, like you're trying to sell me something at all times. I don't think that works anymore. I think that most people want an honest conversation. They just want to know that you're kind of a friend, that you're trying to look out for them as much as possible. And typically that just means you don't have to sit here and give the big voice and give the big speech, and in a lot of ways Donald Trump does this so good at his rallies. He doesn't come off as reading the little teleprompter and being very robotic. He's just up there chatting with people in the crowd. And that's something that I think as a content creator, I think it's something that's always top of mind is how do I get my point of view across, but also how do I find my voice to where it's not forced. It's something very, very natural being in front of the camera, that you're talking, you're writing, right in front of an old friend, right? There's no filter there. It's see is what you get. Okay, so next he's going to talk about how do you harvest, right? How do you now start kind of getting from your audience? And I think the best ways he talks about is obviously you want to get the subscriber count up, right? You want to get as many people subscribed. Obviously it's a social proof thing, but it's also your content's going to be going out to them, and hopefully you start getting engagement from them. By saying subscriber count's a huge metric. Clearly email lists I think are still going to be valuable just because it's, once again, conversation. And if not an email list, send them over to social media and have them follow you there so that you can get more direct messages and things like that. I'm a big fan of that, right? Just anything that can give you a connection with your audience at a higher level than, let's say, a bigger brand, right? Especially if you think about it, the bigger brands, it's one of the biggest things that separates you as a content creator from sometimes the bigger guys, is that the bigger ones, there's not really that connection, right? Like, I get it, it's a consistent product, it's a consistent service, but I'm not gonna ever get to talk with the CEO, I'm never gonna get to talk with the founder, I'm never gonna get to have a chat, And so that's something I always think about is how can I create that connection at any level possible with my audience? Once again, just so you can help them better their lives. And a lot of different facets. It doesn't necessarily have to be business and books. Shoot, I was a military police officer. I can help people, with military stuff and equipment, stuff like that. It's just a chat. How do you help people, right? Okay, so lastly, in terms of building the base, he's just talking about having a hook, right? What is kind of that whether it's a phrase or a theme that people can look at you through. For me, I like to think of myself as pretty minimalist. It kind of goes with the guerrilla thing, trying to say, hey, you don't need a lot of resources or fancy things to make an impact. In fact, it's mostly about the value of your content. Like, are you actually impacting people's lives? That value is way more than production value. And I think that a guerrilla style sometimes forces people to not get distracted, but kind of focus in on what we're actually talking about with these business books, with your business, in order to make more money. With that, there's also a color theme. Mine is white. Once again, it goes with minimalism, white backgrounds. Just because Apple did it, the minimalist background, it's able so that you can focus in on wherever there's color, right? Okay, cool story. But he also then talks about having like that elevator pitch, and this is, I don't want to say it's the Shark Tank pitch, but it's kind of like the Shark Tank pitch where he's talking about you want to be able to describe what you're doing, who's this for, and what is the outcome this person's going to have, all within like a sentence or two. And that makes sense. It really makes sense. When you think about the best brands, it's like right away, and you say, well, what do you do? What is your brand about? Within a sentence or two, they can just boom, rattle that off. We do this, and this is who we're for, and this is the outcome you're going to get, right? For here at Biz Gorilla, we are, we're a business book club for guerrilla marketers and business professionals so that you can build your brand at no to low cost. Clearly the outcome there is building your brand at no to low cost. It's for busy professionals, business school students, and that what do? We're a business book club, right? And it's essentially the best ideas from the best business people. We talk about them and we show you how to implement them. Lastly, in terms of building the base, Joe talks about, understanding about SEO and understanding about where is your audience hiding and where can you go. He says steal them, but things like Reddit or things like Quora, people ask questions on there and that they're kind of expecting just answers. Like they're hoping that an expert's gonna come in and save the day. And he's saying it's a great place to go get subscribers or to go get an audience because once again, let's say for us on Quora, someone says, what are the best business books on personal finance? If I jump in, I'm one of the first ones to actually give a nice little reply to that, all of a sudden everyone else who goes into Quora and sees that, they're gonna see my response, they're gonna view me as the expert in the idea of business books. And so that's a really, really kind of interesting thought that he said it's not just about the content per se, you kind of have to play in the content's world as well. And then obviously Reddit's another good place, social media, answering questions, just trying to be a thought leader in whatever that narrow field you're in. And it does take a while, it's gonna take time, but it does pay dividends in the long run. And I also think that he talks about SEO pretty heavily in terms of discoverability. I mean, it's great to build a lot of content, but if no one's gonna watch it, once again, tree falls in the forest, no one's there to hear it. Did it really fall? Did you really do anything? No, we wanna make an impact, right? We clearly wanna be able to make an impact with our words, with our actions, with what we're doing. That's why we do this in the first place. And so you have to understand SEO is, especially early on, how you're gonna get found. And then obviously there's a lot more advanced tactics you can use in terms of like collaborations and stuff to start expanding your reach. But at first, you're not really gonna have that option. You're gonna have to go with options, mostly with SEO in terms of discoverability. Okay, so the last part he talks about is once you've began the project, you know exactly what your strategy is, you've built out pretty good content, you've kind of mastered the SEO game, all of that. He's saying that you got to, now you're just basically making it better and you're going to improve upon. And this is when he starts saying, okay, how do you monetize? And this is an important question for a lot of content creators. How do you monetize? When do you monetize? And he says monetization can be very, very tricky. Obviously, we create a lot of content and you don't ever really want to do things for free. But a lot of the best YouTubers, I was just listening to Graham Stephan, and he was talking about how his first year he made like 29 grand, and now he probably makes 29 grand a video. And it just kind of goes to show you that if you're good with your content, if you connect with your audience, the money can come in. It might take a little longer, but when it does come in, it can be big. But he's just talking about the basic stuff, affiliate marketing, brand sponsorships, obviously like Google ads or any type of advertisements, but the key focus he was talking about was native ads. And a great way to look at that would be, let's say Rosanna Pansino, let's say she uses King Arthur flower and that she just happens to have the King Arthur flower like kind of in the side of her, like on a thumbnail or something. That could be like a native ad, right? Clearly for King Arthur flower, the association's there. And I kind of took that part pretty well in terms of trying to create your own advertisements for sponsors that directly relates back to your audience. And I think it's a good. Okay, the last part in terms of just improving, he just says put it all together. It's your channel, it's your content, it's your audience. Put it all together. Make content that matters to a few people, right? To a passionate few people, make content that matters. And I know for this channel, my hope is definitely that you guys don't necessarily have to read these business books. Hopefully you're getting a lot of great knowledge from me, from the authors, on how to make better business, how to build a brand at a lower to no cost through more intelligent ways. But that's what you have to be working on, is that message, that level of consistency, just continually. It could take years. I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk with Wine Library TV, I know he was telling the story that he didn't even have like a mic or good lighting on for like 1,000 episodes, but he just wanted to get that content out to people. And it's incredible because even that show, compared to what he's doing now with Gary Vee, is like nothing. But he wouldn't have been Gary Vee now if he didn't start Wine Library TV. And so I think that it's a great thing that Joe's talking about. You gotta start, you just gotta build your base, and then you just gotta get a little better every single day, right? Okay, with that was Content Inc. by Joe Pulizzi. That is the book summary. So once again, big idea, you guys, is that content marketing is really the only kind of marketing now. It's the best way to get engagement and trust from customers and from leads and from everyone in your funnel. And then if you guys want, go ahead and comment down below what your favorite takeaways from this book are, and especially with content marketing, how you're utilizing this for your own content marketing. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button if you want to get better business tips on the daily. And with that, I'm Jason Catalano signing off.